China and Russia draw a new order map after Western defeat in Ukraine, and these are 14 points. You can see the Brics countries in the maps. You're also going to see their total economic production, and it's already overtaking the G7. Now, what are the priorities of Russia's foreign policy through the new strategic doctrine, and how is the rival awe of the West taking shape in the ruins of the war in Ukraine? Russia is drawing the map, quote-unquote, of a world in which there is a competitive but peaceful coexistence with the West as two major geopolitical spaces take place. It's not going to be a unipolar world anymore. Now, the new Russian foreign policy concept for 2023, as the text reads, the first step since 2016, has been put into immediate effect and is revolutionary in its content. The text issued by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and received the approval of President Vladimir Putin includes the priorities and goals of Russia's foreign policy activities and is structured through 14 sections, reminiscent of the 14 points of the American President Woodrow Wilson that put an end to First World War. The main vehicle for the development of the plan for the global new order is the Brics Plus group of states, Brics standing for Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. But there's more states adding on to this, more groups of states that are expected to claim their emancipation from the economic and military dominance of the West. Brics Plus, it's called. Brics Plus is a grouping of original members of Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, along with other states that are already members of or in the process of joining. It's not a free trade bloc, although trade between members is encouraged, while specific geopolitical and economic decisions are made collectively. These include, for example, the decision of all Brics countries to exclude the dollar and the euro from mutual multilateral trade and use their respective fiat currencies. Other initiatives, such as the creation of transaction clearing systems to bypass the SWIFT system, are underway. Brics trade to reach a US $162 billion in 2022, while in terms of their share of global GDP, the Brics surpassed the G7 countries last year, representing a combination of 31.5% of global GDP, while the G7 share has been reduced to 30%, a trend that's expected to continue. The original member states of the Brics group also formed an international bank to implement important investment elements such as New Development Bank, NDB, which functions as an international infrastructure development bank with an emphasis on green technologies. It was recently joined as founding members by Bangladesh, Egypt, and the United Arab Emirates, making them de facto Brics members as well. An additional 20 states have expressed formal interest in joining the group, another 20 countries. If this were to happen, which is only a matter of time, this enlarged Brics would create an economic entity with a GDP 30% larger than the United States, over 50% of the world's population, and controlling 60% of the world's natural gas reserves. Russia's role and proposals. With Russia as a major member of the Brics, its position is highly influential, meaning that what Moscow declares in its foreign policy statement has significant global geopolitical and economic interest. Determining its foreign policy strategy, Russia specifically mentions the Commonwealth of Independent States, the Eurasian Economic Union, the Caspian Sea, and other states interested in developing economic relations with Russia. Essentially, this covers the entire Eurasian region, from the eastern border of the European Union, south to the Middle East, and to the border of Western China. Commonwealth of Independent States, CIS, it's a loose trading bloc made up of former Soviet states and today include Armenia, Azerbaijan, Belarus, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Russia, Tajikistan, and Uzbekistan. Turkmenistan is also an associate member. Without forming a full free trade bloc, Commonwealth member states have bilateral trade agreements with each other, although some coherence and multilateral adoption of collective trade standards has been and continues to be implemented. Both domestic trade and foreign investment in this region grew exponentially in 2022 as Russia and Chinese trade and investment underpinned increased trade flows between the Commonwealth countries as Russia turned to investment and for the establishment of trade relations to the West. Discussions with the Commonwealth countries that are not members of the Eurasian Economic Union, Azerbaijan, Tajikistan, and Uzbekistan, continue to join the economic bloc. The Eurasian Economic Union, EAEU. The EAEU is a more integrated union in terms of facilitating trade relations, including Commonwealth members Armenia, Belarus, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, and Russia. It has also signed agreements with Iran, Serbia, and Vietnam. The EAEU projected a collective trade turnover of around $100 billion in 2022, which has also increased and has investment within the bloc. Many other countries have also expressed a desire to join the EAEU, including several ASEAN states, India, several Middle Eastern and African countries, and those from South America's Mercosur trading bloc. Talks on the integration of the EAEU with the Commonwealth and the Brics are progressing. The Caspian Sea. The Caspian Sea has become extremely important as a transit hub in the wake of Russia's turn to the east and the impact of the conflict in Ukraine. The Caspian Sea states include Azerbaijan, Iran, Kazakhstan, and Turkmenistan, and is a fundamental hub of the International North-South Transport Corridor, INSTC. This connects Russia to various Central Asian routes via Kazakh and Turkmenistan seaports to the Caucasus, Turkey, and beyond the port of Baku, Azerbaijan, and to the Middle East, East Africa, India, and South Asia via Iran's Caspian waterways to the Persian Gulf. Brics PPT. The new Russian security doctrine. Russia states that it's going to develop an active foreign policy, including an emphasis on maintaining its security, stability, territorial integrity, and social and economic development, while the goal is to strengthen Russia's position as one of the centers of global influence. Another goal is to ensure sustainable long-term good neighborly relations and combine capabilities in various fields with neighboring states. Russia's new doctrine invokes a de facto historical claim stating that these regions are connected to Russia by eternal traditions of common statehood, deep interdependence in various fields, a common language, and close cultural ties. Russia intends to prioritize the following areas. 1. Preventing and resolving armed conflicts, improving interstate relations and ensuring stability in the near abroad, including preventing the incitement of color revolutions and other attempts to interfere in the internal affairs of Russia's allies and partners. 2. Ensuring the guaranteed protection of Russia, its allies and partners in any military and political scenario, strengthening the regional security system based on the principle of indivisibility of security and the central role of Russia in maintaining and strengthening regional security, the complementarity of state of the Union, the CSTO and other forms of interaction between Russia and its allies and partners in the field of defense and security. In other words, they're going to be military allies with each other. 3. Countering the development or strengthening of military infrastructure of unfriendly states and other threats to Russia's security in the near abroad. 4. Deepening integration process serving the interests of Russia and strategic cooperation of the Republic of Belarus, strengthening the mutual beneficial comprehensive cooperation system based on the combined capabilities of the Commonwealth and the EAEU, as well as developing additional multilateral forms of cooperation, including a mechanism of interaction between Russia and the states of the Central Asian region. 5. Creation of an integrated economic and political space in Eurasia in the long term. 6. Preventing and countering hostile actions of foreign states and their alliances which cause disintegration process in the near abroad and create obstacles to the exercise of the sovereign right of Russia's allies and partners to deepen their overall cooperation with Russia. 7. Unleash the economic potential of good neighborliness, mainly with the EAEU member states and the states interested in developing economic relations with Russia in order to shape a broader integration framework in Eurasia. 8. Comprehensive support of the Republic of Abkhazia and the Republic of South Ossetia, promoting the voluntary choice based on international law of the peoples of these states in favor of deeper integration with Russia. 9. Strengthening cooperation in the Caspian Sea zone based on the premise that the resolution of all issues related to this area falls under the exclusive competence of the 5 states around the Caspian Sea. The Russian sphere of influence. These statements have effectively redefined the Russian sphere of influence, as former Commonwealth members have been excluded, suggesting that Moscow views countries such as Ukraine and Moldova as essentially lost. It would, however, be wrong to believe that Moscow considers them irrelevant, since, as we have seen, the situation in Ukraine has led to a bloody ongoing conflict. The new doctrine makes clear that Russia maintains and expects to maintain significant influence, including in investment, trade, and security, to maintain the status quo and improve connectivity among the member states. Eurasia, emphasis on India. The idea further advances the strategic alignment of the Eurasian region with China and India. This essentially means that Russian geopolitics doctrine has moved several thousand kilometers to the east in terms of its strategic development and sees itself now more aligned towards Asia than Europe. This is neatly summarized in paragraph 51 of the text. While Russia looks towards a comprehensive deepening of ties and strengthening of coordination with friendly sovereign states located on the Eurasian continent and committed to approaches that coincide in principle with Russia's approach to future global order and solutions to basic problems of world politics. The geopolitical transformation. Moscow also considers its role crucial in the transformation of Eurasia, stating that it seeks to transform Eurasia into a continental, common space of peace, stability, mutual trust, development, and prosperity. It then states that achieving this goal entails 1. Comprehends the strength of potential and role of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, CSO, in ensuring security in Eurasia and promoting its sustainable development by strengthening the activities of the organization in the light of current geopolitical reality. 2. Establishing of the broad framework of integration of the greater Eurasian partnership by combining the potential of all states, regional organizations, and Eurasian associations based on EAEU and SCO, that's the Shanghai Cooperation Agreement, Shanghai being China, of course, of the Southeastern Asian nations, ASEAN, as well as the connection of the development EAEU plans and China's Belt and Road Initiative, while maintaining the possibility of all interested states and multilateral associations of Eurasian continent to participate in this partnership, and as a result, creating a network of partner organizations in Eurasia. 3. Strengthening economic and transport interconnection in Eurasia, including through the modernization and increased capacity of the main Baikal-Amur line and the Trans-Siberian Railway, the rapid launch of the international North-South Transport Corridor, improving the infrastructure of Western Europe, Western China, International Transit Corridor, the Caspian and Black Sea regions, and the Northern Sea Route, creating development zones and economic corridors in Eurasia, including the economic China-Mongolia-Russian corridor, as well as increasing regional cooperation in digital development and creation of an energy partnership. 4. Creating a comprehensive settlement in Afghanistan, helping to build it as a sovereign, peaceful, and neutral state with a stable economy and political system that meets the interests of all ethnic groups living there and opens prospects for the integration of Afghanistan to the Eurasian space. the China-India alliance and its global significance. With regard to China, it is pointed out, Russia aims to further strengthen the comprehensive partnership and strategic cooperation with the People's Republic of China and focuses on developing mutual beneficial cooperation in all fields, providing mutual assistance and strengthening coordination in the international arena to ensure security, stability, and sustainable development globally and regionally, both in Eurasia and in other parts of the world. As for India, its relationship with Russia is described as privileged, quote-unquote, and stated that Russia will continue to build a highly privileged strategic partnership with the Republic of India in order to strengthen and expand cooperation in all fields on a mutually beneficial basis and to place special emphasis on increasing the volume of bilateral trade, strengthening investment and technological ties, and ensuring the resistance to the destructive actions of unfriendly states and their alliance. It should be noted that India is negotiating a free trade agreement with the Eurasian Economic Union. The Islamic world, with the United Arab Emirates joining Brics, Saudi Arabia joined the SCO, and Iran having an agreement with the EAEU, Russia's position vis-à-vis the predominantly Arab and Gulf states is emerging as extremely important. It's also interesting to note that defining a specific group of Islamic states as opposed to adopting a regional approach. In this way, Moscow realizes that the global Islamic community is expanding and its approach requires special care. The friendly Islamic civilization, they said, which has great prospects for establishing itself as an independent center of global development in a polycentric world, is an increasingly demanding and reliable partner of Russia in ensuring security and stability, as well as solving economic problems globally and regionally. Russia seeks to strengthen overall mutual beneficial cooperation with the member states of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, respecting their social and political systems and their traditional spiritual and moral values. In pursuit of these goals, Russia is going to focus on 1. Developing full and reliable cooperation with Iran, providing comprehensive support to Syria, and deepening the multifaceted, mutually beneficial partnership with Turkey, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and other member states of Organization of Islamic Cooperation, given the extent of sovereignty of the constructiveness of their policy towards Russia. 2. Establishing a sustainable, comprehensive regional architecture of security and cooperation in the Middle East and North Africa, based on the combination of the power of all states and interstate alliance of the regions, including the League of Arab States and the Gulf Cooperation Council. Russia intends to actively cooperate with all concerned states and interstate associations in order to implement Russia's concept of collective security of the Persian Gulf region, considering the implementation of this initiative as an important step towards the sustainable and comprehensive normalization of the situation in the Middle East. 3. Promote of interfaith and intercultural dialogue and understanding, unifying efforts to protect trade ties with unfriendly dominant centers located on the Eurasian continent, and committed to approaches that coincide in principle with Russia's approaches to a future world order and solutions on basic problems of world politics. Moscow also sees itself as having a key role in the transformation of Eurasia, stating that Russia seeks to transform Eurasia into a continental common space of peace, stability, mutual trust, development, and prosperity. It then states that achieving this goal entails 1. Comprehensive strengthening of the potential and role of Shanghai Cooperation Organization, SCO, in ensuring security in Eurasia and promoting its sustainable development by strengthening and activities of the organization in the light of current geopolitical reality. 2. The establishment of a broad framework of integration of the greater Eurasian partnership by combining the potential of all states, regional organizations, and Eurasian associations based on EAEU and SCO, and the Association of Southeastern Asian Nations, ASEAN, as well as a connection of the development EAEU plans and China's Belt and Road Initiative while maintaining the possibility for all interested states and multilateral associations of the Eurasian continent to participate in this partnership, and as a result, creating a network of partner organizations in Eurasia. 3. Strengthening economic and transport interconnection in Eurasia, including through the modernization and increased capacity of the main Baikal-Amur line and the Trans-Siberian Railway, the rapid launch of the International North-South Transport Corridor, improving the infrastructure of Western Europe, Western China International Transit Corridor, the Caspian Black Sea regions and Northern Sea Route, creating development zones and economic corridors in Eurasia, including the economic China-Mongolia-Russia corridor, as well as creating regional cooperation in digital development and the creation of energy partnership. 4. Creating a comprehensive settlement in Afghanistan, helping to build it as sovereign, peaceful, and neutral state with a stable economy and political system that meets the interests of all ethnic groups living there and opens prospect for the integration of Afghanistan into the Eurasian Space Cooperation. In other words, they're going to rebuild Afghanistan that the U.S. left in a mess. Okay? This is Brics nations. Now, the Eurasian Economic Area, the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, SCO, is a growing trade and security bloc that now covers much of Eurasia, including China, India, and Russia, and has attracted new members in the Middle East. As trade entities such as the Commonwealth of the EAEU already exist, it's expected that the SCO will give greater, stronger emphasis on regional Eurasian security. NATO has described the SCO as a threat, making it the focus of US and EU interests in regional expansion despite denials of the prospect. Focus on Afghanistan, that the US left a mess. Now, the text also notes that the SCO's focus would rather be on building a settlement in Afghanistan where an inclusive government of cooperation has yet to be formed. The Taliban have said it's an interim government until one is formed, representative government scheme. Since local Taliban officials are unlikely to want to concede, this remains a thorny issue and constitutes a main wreck of American policy that led to the 20-year war. However, Afghanistan remains a major bet for Russian foreign policy, which means reintegrating it to the international system. China's Belt and Road Initiative and the new Silk Roads. Of particular importance are the references to ASEAN and the Belt and Road Initiative, which Russia considers an integral part of Eurasian development. This is interesting as it suggests that ASEAN's trade and investment interest is directed towards North and East Asia, while certainly Russia and EAEU trade and investment are directed to the Southeast. It also implies a set of future free trade agreements, and similar agreements between Eurasia and Southeast Asia are a key part of Russia's foreign policy. This also extends to specific trade corridors reaching across the region, the Russian Far East, Mongolia, and various Trans-Siberia routes, as well as facilitating China-Europe trade. Both Russia and China are transforming into powerful transit trade hubs. China acts as a trade hub for Russia and EAEU with ASEAN, and Russia acts the same for Chinese goods headed to the West. Africa, after Western colonization. The Russian foreign policy approach to Africa, instead of trying to divide it into different countries and exploit these differences, as the West has done since the colonial era, treats Africa as a whole greater than the sum of its parts. And this is why Russia recognizes that while structurally the Pan-African idea is not yet complete, the future of Africa as the African Union and Pan-Africa trade blocs such as the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, AfCFTA. Russia stands in solidarity with Africa states in their desire for a more just multipolar world and the elimination of social and economic inequality, which is increasing due to the sophisticated neo-colonial policies of some developed states towards Africa. Russia intends to further support the establishment of Africa as a distinctive and important center of global development, prioritizing the following: 1. Support the sovereignty and independence of concerned African states, including through security assistance, including food and energy security, as well as military and technical cooperation. 2. Help to resolve and overcome the consequences of armed conflict in Africa, especially transnational and ethnic ones, supporting the leadership role of African states in these efforts based on the principle African problems, African solutions. 3. Strengthen and deepening Russia-African cooperation in various fields on a bilateral and multilateral basis, mainly within a framework of the African Union and the Russian-African Partnership Forum. 4. Increase trade and investment with African states and African integration structures, notably the African Continental Free Trade Area, the African Export-Import Bank, and other leading sub-regional organizations, including through the EAEU. 5. Promotion and development of links in the humanitarian sector, including scientific cooperation, training of national personnel, strengthening of health systems, provision of other assistance, promoting of intercultural dialogue, protection of traditional spiritual and moral values, and the right to religious freedom. Conclusion. This is a strategy with economic, geopolitical, and cultural dimensions that will change the world as we know it after the end of the Cold War and forms a powerful rival to the hegemony of the West, obviously, as you can understand. And they're all allies of each other. This is from Banking News, GR, and I've translated this for you from a Greek article. Please leave your comments, and thank you for your support. Kindly support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box.